Hi guys, welcome to Screenbinge.com, and today we have Mr. Chris Warner with us, one of my most favorite actors out there, and this is Mohit Musani, as you all might know by now. So, coming straight to the point, Chris, I like your acting a lot, but
Oh, thank you, brother.
even more than your acting, I like the movies that you do. I mean, if you've been in 10 movies, I like
Mhm.
almost 9.5 of them, be it Harold Kumar, be it No Country for Old Men, be it Machete, or a lot of movies that you've done are like really great. Like Sin City is one of the most favorite movies that I've watched. I'll be honest, I did not like Sin City 2, but one was just
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's probably because they forgot to put
yeah,
me in too, so that's probably what. No, I'm just
exactly,
kidding.
exactly, because it's such a work of a genius, because in this time and age you produce a monochrome film, and it's just amazing. You don't even really need the colors and all. It's just so fairy like, and then there's this scene that I can never forget. There's this girl saying, I don't do talk jobs either, if you remember the scene.
Which one's that again? I'm sorry.
I don't There's this girl, and a group
Oh,
of guys slow down, and they're kind of teasing her or something, and
oh
she
yeah.
says, I don't do talk jobs either. So yeah. So you've also been in Willy's Wonderland lately. How's that experience been? You've been with Nicolas Cage, and could you tell me about it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I auditioned for it just before Christmas last year. Well,
Yeah,
2 years ago now,
yeah,
and we started shooting in February, just before the pandemic started. So
yeah.
I was on the film shoot the first half, and then literally the last day they chose, or they wrapped the film, the next day they started shutting everything down for the pandemic. So we kind of just scooted in. That's kind of an interesting story about the movie itself, is we were one of the last productions, I believe, that
Uh,
got under the wire before COVID stopped. But as
right. A
far as working
lot.
with Nicolas Cage is, he's, the way I call him, he's a sweetheart. He's a really nice, gentle guy, even though he plays kind of tough guys and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
no, it was a great experience to be on camera with him, on set with him, being in the moment with him as an artist. When you hear that word action, all of a sudden the magic starts to happen and things fall away, and you
Mm,
get to be in kind of the magical moment
right.
with an artist of that caliber is it was an honor to be on set with him and
Of
to be able to
course.
act on it. So
Of course, you get to learn and see so much from people like that.
sure, yeah, you get to see when you're on set like that and not even shooting a scene necessarily, you get to
Yeah,
observe their process, if you will. And
exactly.
I feel very fortunate again to be around somebody of his caliber, someone who's been
Mm,
in the business as long as him, done the
yeah.
things that he's done. And yeah, every time I'm on a set, I'm
Mm,
always watching and listening so I can take
mm,
away something maybe to add to my career or my
yeah.
performances on my
But
next
Chris,
project.
you're no small star either. I
Oh, thanks,
mean,
brother. I
I
appreciate
mean,
that.
I, I actually love the movies you've been in, and I've been watching them even before I actually knew there's this guy called Chris Warner and all.
Sure.
So, especially Harold and Kumar and Sin City, these both are like my most favorite movies.
No, okay.
Both the parts of Harold and Kumar actually. So yeah, and so you were there in American Outlaw, right?
American Outlaw, yes, sir. Yep, I was on that. It's funny, a story I have about that. We were in Texas in the middle of summer, and it was probably 110, 115 degrees.
Uh huh.
And I shot this scene where it's a railroad kind of
Uh huh.
depot got destroyed, and my character ends up carrying these railroad ties, several
Right.
railroad ties back and forth.
Right.
And I thought it was called acting, but these guys actually had real railroad ties, which
Uh
are pretty
huh.
heavy. I mean, I'm a pretty big dude. They're
Yeah.
pretty heavy. And then that
Uh-huh.
heat and carrying those all day, woo! What you saw on screen was authentic. My ass was wore out. I was tired at the end of the day. So
Right.
yeah, that was funny. The railroad ties they made that were kind of crimped up were
Uh,
made of a foam. But the I'm sorry, the railroad rails were foam. They weren't metal, but the actual ties that we used to carry were real, and they were probably between 75 and 100 pounds. So
uh-huh.
that was a long day of acting.
Ah, right. Um, so, I mean, I was watching an interview of Al Pacino, of course, sorry,
Mhm.
and he was talking about Scarface, and he was telling the audience how much he prepared for the role, and even though his assistant spoke Spanish, I believe Hispanic,
Mhm.
and he did not understand that, but he asked him to specifically speak only in Hispanic so that he could get that accent.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a lot of method acting and all of
Sure.
that when you know interview stars like that.
Yeah, method is an interesting process.
Yeah.
You when you work with folks that do method, and I can't say I've
Mm.
embraced it fully to prepare for roles, because what happens with method
Yeah.
is,
It's
I
very
think a lot of times,
hardcore.
yeah, you have to prepare in a pretty secluded setting. And what I mean by that is, when you start using method, and again, you're the character 24/7.
Exactly.
When you get around your family or your friends or dealing with
Uh,
people out in the public, it
mhm.
can get a little dicey. And not that I don't admire the guys and the women and the men that choose to do that,
Of course.
but you can actually you can affect personal relationships
Of
sometimes,
course, of course,
because
that
if your
happens.
character, yeah, if your character's hard to handle, he's a person that
Mm.
has maybe some insanity to him or something like that, and
Yeah,
you start portraying that in real life, it can get it can get a little
exactly.
dicey.
That messes up with the brain.
Yeah, I read an article one time where Daniel Day-Lewis, who tends to
Uh,
utilize method quite a bit, who is
mm,
my favorite
mm-hmm.
actor of all time.
Uh-huh.
He actually admitted to his personality changes with every role that he does, because he gets so deep into the character,
Deep into the
and
character.
also his it takes him about a year, I believe I read, that to come fully out of the character. And again, even once he's fully out as a man, as Daniel Day-Lewis, he's actually changed as a person.
Of course,
So
of course.
yeah,
Something's left in there.
yeah.
Yeah,
So method is extremely an extreme deep dive into
yeah,
a character.
yeah.
So
Some people say that even Heath Ledger went too much into the Joker character, and
mm,
that affected his mental health. You being a person of the industry would probably know a bit better.
sure, I not being able to speak specifically on his situation, but
Right.
wow, that performance as an actor was spectacular.
Of
Um,
course.
and so, sure, is it possible that Heath could have gone? He obviously did a deep dive, because some of the things that he did with that character, mannerisms that are unconscious. As an actor, you
Yeah.
watch other actors perform,
Yeah.
um, and you see things that they did that are, again, an unconscious effort. Sometimes when you're doing a role, you've got to remember the dialogue. You've got to
Yeah.
remember where you want to put the inflections, and when you want to say a certain word while you're doing a certain action. And
Exactly.
sometimes folks have some tail signs, but man, again, with Heath Ledger's performance of the Joker,
Yeah.
he was fully immersed into that character.
Merged,
There's no
of
doubt
course,
about
of course. Even Joaquin Phoenix,
it.
uh, I was watching an interview, and he said I kind of got into the character so much that even as the movie was coming towards an end and it had almost ended, I was still in the character and I wanted more and more of that. So yeah, that could be very addictive and very hard on the mind as well. So
Sure.
yeah. So Chris, you do have millions of followers, across the world, and you have a lot of successful movies on your profile. So I'd like to ask you, how did it all begin? This is one question that I ask every person.
Sure, sure.
How did it all
Um,
begin? Was it luck? Was it, uh, you know, was it passion, or was it just something?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't one of those kids who kind of knew he wanted to be an actor or a thespian growing up. I played Santa Claus in a fifth grade play. I
Uh
played
huh.
Santa Claus in a 12th grade play.
Yeah.
But that's the only acting I had done as a child. I was more of an athlete.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
I will have to admit, as a person, I was kind of a cut up. I definitely like to be the center of attention, kind of
Yeah.
being in the middle of things. And
Right.
so as an adult, I actually kind of went to the normal route. I was going to be a physical therapist going into college and stuff. And
Right.
I've always been a huge fan of movies
Uh
since
huh.
I was a kid. So
Right.
still watching movies, and I had a friend at work who was doing some acting on the side, and we got to talking about a movie over lunch one day, and I told her, you know what, I'd like to give it a try. I'd like to try
Yeah.
this, as I called it, this acting thing. It can't, and I'll say this, it can't be that hard. Now as an actor, I'm like, okay, I have a different perspective of it, but I started actually hanging out with her and her friends who were all actors,
Right.
and started taking classes, and got more immersed in the study of it all. And the more that
Of
I got
course.
immersed in studying acting, and
Yes.
it just started to kind of seep into my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
knew when I would do a scene, or I was in a movie or a play
Yeah.
or something like that, it's
Yeah.
the only thing I've done where time
Mm.
stands still for me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I could do it all day, every day. Some folks
Mm-hmm.
say I do it for free.
Yeah.
Well, we all gotta eat, but yeah, it's one of those things that you would consider doing for free because it meant that much to me. Um,
Of course.
so yeah, and that
Yeah.
was
Like, sorry to cut you down. Like,
sure,
I write fiction for my passion,
sure.
and I would never, sell it off or change a word from there. So I do kind of understand what, your personal art or your personal creativity means to you. So yeah. And of course, coming to your second point about studying acting, I was interviewing Jeffrey Wiseman. Of course, you know him, right?
Sure.
From Back to the Future and a
Yeah.
lot of other movies. So he's a very humble guy, and in fact, it was one of my first interviews. So he made me feel really, really comfortable and very humble. So he told me that the entire credit of his uh, uh, career, acting career, goes to actually studying film and drama and movies and performing at theaters. That's where you get the skills from.
Mhm.
Some people have it inborn, but of course education and training does improve you a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's with anything like that. I think, as they say, you train hard, you play easy or work easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think anything that an actor develops
Yeah.
is going to be worked on and chiseled down. There are folks who are naturally talented. Don't get me wrong as far as acting is concerned, but
Yeah.
it's the folks who are not only naturally talented but take the time to work on their skill and their craft that
Exactly.
become the Daniel Day Lewises of the world, the folks that captivate you. You
Exactly.
can't wait for their next thing to come out, or every time you see them on screen, there is just something
Mm-hmm.
about them that makes
Right.
you not turn away.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, I think a lot of what that magic is like he said, putting in the hours and the days and the weeks work of
Yeah.
training and studying and workshopping a character, or
Yeah.
workshopping, something that you're trying to get. It can be something as simple as an accent or a mannerism that you want to perfect so it becomes unconscious. Kind of
Exactly.
again, like I spoke about with Heath Ledger, some of just
Yeah.
the movements that he made as that character weren't his natural movements in life, but he
Yeah.
workshopped them, and he
Yeah.
practiced them so much that they became second nature. So when
Of
he did
course.
lock into that character in his mind, his
Yeah.
body followed suit,
Yeah.
and it just took hours of practice. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was insane. His acting is what as Joker was totally insane. You know,
Yeah.
Batman punches him and this that, and he's just laughing and laughing. Come on, punch me more, punch me more. So that's another level of insanity, and for that also, if an actor goes um, for method acting in such for such a character, I believe it takes a very strong mind to remain sane.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? Sometimes we do dip into the insanity, and what I say to folks is that's kind of what that's what even I as an audience member pay to see is when those folks, even though they may be somewhat scared or nervous to dip into it, that's what we all like to pay to see is because we as audience members sometimes uh, might might not have what it takes to go there. So to see someone do that and take the
Mhm.
chance is awe inspiring if that makes sense. So yeah, it's
That does.
my first acting coach talked about one of one of her friends who was an actor. Again, I don't remember who it was or whatever, but she said she had a friend who went into character one time and I don't mean to make light of this, but never came out.
Yeah.
She actually became the person. So so yeah, that's that kind of that moment of chance that folks take that with her unfortunately looking like it didn't look like it was a possibility she was actually going to come back. So um yeah, it's an interesting place to go if you're willing to go there. So it's very fun as an audience member, as a consumer to see
Mhm.
guys and ladies and men go
But you
to
must
those
have the
places.
mental capacity, right?
Sure, sure. And going back to the training, you have to kind of go there in training to make sure that you can go there when they say
Yeah.
action as well.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in making sure that what I'm trying to portray as an actor is what I want you to see it as an audience. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of when I practice filming myself, and I'm an actor that doesn't have a problem of watching myself do what I do, just so
Uh-huh.
I can make the adjustments if necessary
Right.
to get the audience what I feel they need. So
Yeah. A lot of actors don't really watch the movies they act in. Is that correct?
I I think sometimes you might see that. Yeah, I tend to refer to it as phoning it in.
Yeah.
Um, I, I think that people can learn their lines, but being committed to the character is a whole other story, and that's kind of where the training and the workshopping a character comes into play.
Uh-huh.
Is is being able to embody the character like you want the audience to see and feel the character. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I videotape myself, so I have an idea of what the character is supposed to be, sound like,
Right.
look like, move like.
Right.
And then once I get to that point, I see I'm performing at that point.
Yeah.
Then I know the character is committed. I'm committed to what the character is supposed to be for the audience to enjoy that character themselves. So,
Right.
um, but just learning your lines isn't necessarily committing to the character,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
sometimes that happens. I guess you can't tell what someone did, but yeah, it probably does happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, the COVID situation is coming under control. So, any new projects lined up, Chris?
Well, what I'm working on now, what's COVID, COVID shut everything down. So as an actor, there wasn't
Yeah.
much available to put on screen. So
True.
I kind of directed my efforts to where I'm a writer as well. I'm a screenwriter as well.
Oh,
So
that's great.
you have to understand this. So I hunkered down. I took out a few scripts that I've written in the past, feature screenplays, and I kind of polished those up. And I've been pitching a TV show right now, the
Nice.
last 6 months, kind of as a vehicle for myself.
Right.
So probably the next project, I have a short film that I wrote that I've kind of projected into a feature screenplay. I'm gonna probably turn it into, but I'm gonna shoot that probably in the next few weeks
Would
and
you
to get
like to
polished.
disclose something about the TV show?
Sure, the TV show is it's called Bisbee. It's about a small town in Arizona, which is in the south part of the United States
Right.
that that becomes overrun by the cartel, the Mexican cartel. And
Uh-huh.
so we have our hero, our protagonist is a Marine, a United States Marine sniper
Oh,
who comes
nice.
home, who retires home to
Uh,
Bisbee, his hometown, and finds out again,
yeah.
home's not what it used to be.
Right.
And that's because the cartels come over and more or less invaded it.
Right.
So someone like a Johnny Rambo is not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. So from that
Oh,
point on, we start seeing some conflict build between the hero, who the hometown hero, and the cartel until the end when we have an epic ending that folks won't ever forget. That's for sure.
right.
About kind of a one-man army, a Frank Castle Punisher, if you will,
I
who
can
tends to
kind of
take on.
imagine what's it gonna be like. Sounds very interesting. Sounds very
Yeah,
action
so
packed.
very action-packed, very
Yeah.
drama-driven. You know, you have a
Yeah.
lot of minor characters who tend to come in and help him out along the way, but
Right.
it's definitely going to be action-packed, definitely violent, definitely edgy, gritty.
Uh,
Those are the kind of words that I would use to describe
just
it.
don't make it Michael Bay kind of action.
Yeah, we won't have too many,
Everything's flying and all the cars are crashing.
yeah, too many 50 car pileups on it,
Uh,
but again, it's more of the kind of, I call it intimate violence, meaning the hand-to-hand combat,
yeah.
the strategic thinking before doing, but once it happens,
Yeah,
it's
that's very
very
interesting. Very interesting.
yeah, pays homage to Rambo,
Yeah.
First Blood, so to speak. So big fan of Stallone, um, but it's not so much again an action story like a Stallone movie or a Michael Bay movie. It's probably more along the lines um, of Breaking Bad,
Uh-huh.
meets Marcos. Yeah, so very
All right.
realistic.
Uh-huh. Sounds very promising.
So yeah, out pitching that to the execs and trying to make some things happen around that, spinning, getting those things started. So
I'll get back to you when once the movie is released, and we'll have
sure.
another interview for that, huh?
Oh,
How
absolutely,
does that sound?
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I
So what?
appreciate it.
Yes. So what do you know about Screenbinge?
Well, I had time to just talk to Joe a few days ago about it and
Yeah.
check you out. It definitely looks like that you. I hadn't heard of you before, so I have to admit that. But it looks like you guys definitely are everything entertainment. I can see that you cover the gamut on things that are movies and
Of
films,
course. Yeah.
and those and being and I can see that you know the website itself is a true fan of those things. So it's really
Yeah.
cool to see sometimes when you see a kind of a news outlet cover that, but then you
Yeah.
see a fan-based website or something like that
Yeah.
where you find out kind of the in-between, the behind-the-scenes things that you might not find out, the
Yeah.
interviews with actors and directors and stuff that you might not get
Yeah.
on something that's more
We're
of a
pacing up on that. We're pacing up on that. We're
true.
trying to bring in at least 3 interviews per week.
Oh, okay.
So we just want to get more and more interviews so that all interview section gets filled up, and the
Mhm.
audience has a lot of value to come to the website and see. So you knew about Screenbench beforehand.
I didn't know it until Joe, the guys
Under
that the guy
Joe.
that connected us had mentioned that you reached out. So I
Yeah.
wasn't as familiar with it, but I did get a chance to do a little research on you guys before we
Uh-huh.
spoke,
Uh-huh.
and I was
Right.
definitely impressed with what you guys were putting out to
Yeah.
your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, we focus on completely focus on entertainment news, movie reviews, what's coming on Netflix, Disney. These days, the streaming platforms are like countless: Peacock, NBC, I don't know, Apple TV. Uh, it's just limitless. So we cover all that, Hulu, and then I'm sure you might be aware of geographical restrictions with Netflix and other streaming services. So we do provide solutions for movie fans and TV series fans to watch particular movies and shows that are restricted to certain regions and are not available globally. So we provide those kind of solutions. And uh, if you want to set up your gadgets to for streaming and stuff like that, so we provide all those kind of solutions, error guides, and it's all streaming,
Oh, okay.
all, yeah,
So
yeah.
you can actually through your website you can actually consume content as well, or audience your members can consume content. Is that right?
No, we don't put on the movies, but we provide solutions
Oh, okay.
to, you know, access geo-restricted, let's say, versions of Netflix or any streaming service that is not, let's say, available in a particular part of the world. Let's say Disney came in, but it was not available globally for a year or so. So if you wanted to watch it from, let's say, in a smaller country like Malaysia or Singapore, so we kind of used to we kind of provide solutions as to how to access those platforms from anywhere in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
very cool.
for example, you're watching something on American Netflix, and you go out for a shoot, and you turn on Netflix and you don't find that show because that show is not available in your region. So we provide solutions, and we tell you how to access that American Netflix anywhere in the world, or be it any region's Netflix or any geo-restricted service. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's what Screenbinge does.
Well,
Yeah. So we basically guide movie lovers and streamers to the right direction.
and where are you guys based exactly? Or
We're a group of 7 to 8 individuals. Some of us are based in Pakistan. Three of us are based in the US. Two of us are in the UK. So one of our writers is from Canada. So
oh,
it's
kind of worldwide a little bit,
yeah,
right?
sort of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Very, very cool.
yeah. So uh, any last words for your fans, Chris?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and talk all things movie, all things Hollywood. I'm always up for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys stay tuned. We've got some good things coming out for 2021.
Uh-huh.
Some good new original content that
Yeah.
you'll be able to check out on all my socials. If you go to my website, the Chris Warner, TheChrisWarner.com, I
Uh-huh.
have all my links to socials there, and you're gonna
Uh-huh.
start seeing some new, hopefully some edgy, short form original content. I'm gonna start working on in 2021. So
Right.
I'm gonna leave it at that because I want to be surprised. I want folks to be surprised and uh, and just engaged in this point. And working on the short form is something that's going to be um, kind of new to the Chris Warner universe, if that makes sense. But something that we can kind of get to the audience
Right.
um, now, sooner, faster. But still working on the long form screenplays and TV shows and movies. But
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. That's kind of something that 2021 is going to bring to the world. So stay tuned.
Yeah. All the best of luck for that.
Pretty cool. And I appreciate your time today. Absolutely.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chris.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so,
So it was a complete honor to be talking to you, especially because of the movies that I so much love. Um, how was Sin City? I mean, tell me something about Sin City.
oh, Sin City was a blast to make. Robert Rodriguez, I call him a sweetheart too. He's a very kind soul.
I can imagine the kind of atmosphere at the studios, and it must be like really uh, gritty, I believe.
Yeah, Robert's an amazing individual as far as being an entertainer,
Yeah,
being a creative. He
yeah,
has his own studio set up in Austin, Texas.
right.
And what's so amazing with my experience in that movie is a lot of it was done green screen, and
Uh-huh.
to see so to go from what we shot being on set to seeing what Robert created visually was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I mean, so the
Of
scene you were
course.
talking about where Alexa Badell is walking down the street and we pull up to her
Yeah,
in the car, and Benicio del Toro's character Jackie Boy is
yeah,
talking to her. All that
yeah.
was the only thing that was real is the car. So
Ah,
that whole setting was on a green screen stage. The floor
uh-huh.
was green, the walls were green. They took a treadmill and they took it apart, and they had a guy on the ground cranking the treadmill to move. It wasn't electric, and she was walking on a treadmill next to the car, and the car was sitting still. So all that
Damn.
was sitting still, and he made it look like we were moving down a street. And once you see it on the movie
You just
screen,
can't tell when you see it on the
yeah,
movie.
you could tell we were sitting still. They had a guy with a big tube that blew air.
Yeah.
So every once in a while he would blow the air by us, so it made it look like our hair was blowing. And then there was
Uh-huh.
another guy standing. There were several guys standing with lights, flashing them side to side to make it look like cars were moving by us. So
Right.
yeah, just to see what we were shooting and then to see what he made
Wow.
is amazing. I mean, Robert is a true artist at heart. Um,
This
he,
is,
he can do everything on a movie set and everything off a movie set.
yeah.
And what's so beautiful about that is when he loves movies so much, he made sure that no one could tell him he couldn't make a movie. He learned everything you can do to make a movie. So he went out, and initially he had a handheld camera. He would
Uh-huh.
cast family and friends as the actors, and he would just make a movie. He let nothing stop him from
Right.
creating his art, and that's very admirable about him. Yeah,
Definitely. He
it's
must
very
be a
cool to watch.
genius with all that green screen and such a successful movie. He must be a
Oh,
genius
he,
with
he knows how to put it together.
technicals, yeah.
Yeah, he knows how to put the right team together. So if
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know it, he knows how to get someone to, and he's good at relating his vision. Some guys just they can't get to the point of what they want to create visually. Robert is
Exactly.
excellent at conveying and communicating
Uh-huh.
what he really wants to see and hear. So
Right.
yeah, I feel very fortunate to have worked with him on that and Machete both. So
Okay.
um,
Right.
yeah, he's definitely one of my heroes in movie
Uh-huh.
making, for sure.
Machete again is something very, very uh, unique and cool.
Yeah, it's different. He
It's
definitely wanted to
very
create a
different,
platform
very different.
for his buddy Danny Trejo, and it was a lot of fun to make. It's a very out there concept, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun to be on the set with Danny and Robert
Uh-huh.
both. So
Uh, so, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Chris, and it was great talking to you. And
no, Mohit, thank you for your time,
yeah,
and yeah, keep on the watch out. 2021, Chris Warner. I got some good
yeah,
stuff coming.
all the best of luck for that. Goodbye.
Cool. Thank you much.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.